the commission, the issues you address under this heading, and then you may begin to testify on the various aspects thereof.
Thank you so much, Commissioners. Commissioners, as we continue presenting the picture that we're seeing as we're investigating these interferences, one player in this puzzle is General Sibia. So I want to invite the Commission to understand perhaps the background of General Sibia, his arrival in the police, and his responsibility as a person appointed as a Deputy National Commissioner of Police. What I know of is that General Sibia was appointed as a Lieutenant General, promoted to Lieutenant General in the police in July 2022. And I said earlier, the post of a Deputy National Commissioner of Crime Detection, it's a heartbeat of the South African Police Service. According to the structure of the police, the organogram, that is where crime intelligence accounts, that is where investigations account, and that is where forensic accounts. So General Sibia was afforded that opportunity in July 2022 to be appointed as a Deputy National Commissioner occupying this position. But before that, if Commissioners allow me to backtrack, prior to his arrival in the South African Police Service, General Sibia was appointed in the South African Police Service in 2022 after he had won a court case. He was originally an employee of the service and was working within DPCI before that, and he was dismissed from the service and he appealed his dismissal. A dismissal, I'm told, that the employer, which is South African Police that dismissed him, did not oppose in court. Subsequent to that, the court ruled in his favor that he must be reinstated into the service. But when that happened, at the time, General Sibia was employed at the City of Johannesburg Metro Municipality. Well, I'm not going to dwell much on what was his function at Johannesburg Metro, but it's just interesting I'm going to be making comparison of what I became aware of on record, which is a public knowledge of things that involves him at the City of Johannesburg, and I contrast that to what is happening in the South African Police Service. So when he was appointed, before he was appointed, the City of Johannesburg, upon learning that General Sibia is going to be starting his work in the South African Police Service, the City of Joburg felt that it is important to bring to the attention to the Minister of Police about the pending investigation against General Sibia at the City of Johannesburg.
General, for purposes of precision, is that a specific person within the City of Johannesburg or the council, the city itself? Who do you say brought this to their attention?
I want to invite the commissioners to look at MK23. It's on page 477 on my, it starts from 477 and it ends at 478 on the annexures. So these which are attached here is what I'm referring to, commissioners, that the City of Johannesburg wrote to the Minister of Police and they delivered a letter by hand, which the Minister of Police acknowledged it on the 20th of June 2022. And the Minister of Police at the time was Jara Begiteli. This letter, I'm going to read the heading. It reads as follows. Urgent request for the Minister of Police to intervene on the failure to disclose evidence of fraud and corruption which involves 3.5 million rand of unlawful benefit and 580 million rand irregular expenditure to the City of Johannesburg Municipality Council and the South African Police Service.
Perhaps to, or if I may, to further contextualize that heading, you might want to read paragraph 2 of that letter, which confines the request to a specific person.
Perhaps maybe before I continue reading that, Commissioners, this letter is addressed, as I said, to the Minister of Police. It comes from the executive head at the office of the City Manager of Johannesburg in Braamfontein, and this letter was copied to the Speaker of the Council. And this letter is dated the 20th of June 2022, and it was signed by Mesuli Mlandu, the Executive Director at the City Manager's Office. The paragraph 2 of this letter, if I read it as written here, I request an intervention of the Minister on the concealment from the Council and the hawks of evidence of fraud and corruption which involves the employment of Mr. S. Sibia, the head of Department for Group Forensic and Investigation Services, HOD of GFIS in bracket, in receiving 3.5 million rand of unlawful gratification and causing 580 million of irregular expenditure. The letter is written, as I said, this is just part of the content of the letter addressed to the Minister of Police. So it's already warning about some irregularities within the City of Johannesburg that involves Mr. SCB. And they are saying here that as the city, they are writing this thing, bringing to the Minister of Police, as contained on paragraph 6, if I may read it.
Perhaps you might want to start at paragraph 3 before you move to 6.
Paragraph 3. The paragraph 3 reads, it is urgent because I am advised that Mr. Sibia may soon be taking up a senior position in the South African Police Service as from the 1st of July 2022, and thus escape being held accountable. I can also confirm that the then acting city manager, Mr. F. Brink, first reported this matter to the Gauteng MEC for local government, and the MEC did not intervene.
Then you can move to paragraph 6 you originally intended to read.
Yeah, paragraph 6 reads as follows. Therefore, to assist Council with these legal obligations, I request the Minister to urgently intervene and cause the evidence in the attached report to be tabled before Council. Also considering that Mr. Sibia is still a city employee until he takes up employment with SCPS from the 1st of July 2022, the Minister of COPTA will be notified of this matter. So this is a letter that is written by the City of Johannesburg, and it is addressed to the Minister of Police.
Why, and of what relevance is it to your testimony?
The relevance of this is that the city felt it is important for them to bring to the attention of the executive authority in the South African Police Service about the risk associated with the person that is coming to the organization. In June already, before he started his appointment in July. And they are flagging the 3.5 million rand rectification and a regular expenditure that amounts to 580 million rand, of which was incurred. That seems to suggest that it happened under his leadership in the position that he was occupying as a forensic head in the city of Johannesburg.
In your statement, in paragraphs 266 and 267, in fact up to 268, you succinctly capture the challenge, firstly the issue of how the minister dealt with what was brought to his attention and the challenges that you have with the manner in which it was handled.
Please, before you go on, General, just explain to me the request made in paragraph 6 of the letter. Is the minister referred to there must be the minister to whom the letter is addressed, which is the Minister of Police, or not?
That is correct.
Now, what I don't understand is why somebody employed by the municipality should be requesting the Minister of Police to intervene and cause the evidence relating to what is being alleged to be tabled before council. Why should that be done by the Minister of Police?
Commissioner, the reason why the city wrote this letter to the Minister of Police, I cannot explain. But what of an interest to me is that the city is already flagging a risk that is associated with the individual that is coming to us. That there is this what the city is having a problem with. Gratification of 3.5 million and a regular expenditure of 580 million that the city suffered as a result of this individual that we want to take, or that is coming to the organization.
So from where you are sitting, whatever the motivation for the writing of the letter, it does not matter to you. Your concern is more that the issue of the gratification had been flagged. That's what your concern is. That's what your issue is.
That is true, Commissioner. In an ordinary working of, especially in a department like the police, that is charged with the responsibility of upholding and enforcing the law, that you are warned of a person that you are about to employ who's questionable, and if proven these allegations, it will prove to be disastrous in the police. And at least with this warning, the management should have taken a decision of not placing this person in the heartbeat of the police. I mentioned earlier the position where he ended. But I must speed up, Commissioner, and say he arrived in the police as a Major General. When he left, he was dismissed from the service. And that was as a result of the disciplinary case surrounding the rendition of the Zimbabweans that were transported to Zimbabwe. So it was based on that. He was dismissed. There was an appeal on the dismissal. As I said earlier, the very same employer that dismissed him did not oppose that appeal. So as a result, the court ruled in his favor. So when he comes back, the organization takes him back because there's a court order. But with this warning that comes, and I must then maybe retract back to say the employment in terms of what the Act is saying, the National Commissioner remains responsible for the employment. But there was an incident that happened back in the organization a couple of years back, where there's a section in the Police Act that empowers the National Commissioner to promote a person without advertising a position, can elevate you to another position. So it happened that Gerald Khan from Crime Intelligence was a colonel in the police, was promoted from the rank of a colonel to a Major General at Crime Intelligence by the acting commissioner at the time, was Gerald Mutiba. And that upsetted the minister at the time, was Minister Mbalula, was the head of the was executive authority in the police. And that triggered the ministry amending the regulations on the Police Act. And that amendment, it brought about the consultation with the ministry before you appoint. That's why I'm making a reference to it that in terms of regulation 39.4 of the police regulation, an appointment on this level of a major general and higher must be made in consultation with the minister. So therefore, the letter with this warning addressed to the Minister of Police, then the minister had an obligation, because it's a cautionless. So he had an obligation to share this with the National Commissioner. I do not know whether it happened or not. But what I know is that Gerald Spear was appointed into the police and not, remember, when he left, he was at DPCI. When he came back, he was given a post of the head of organized crime in the police, at the head office. That's where he started. This is July 2022. Commissioners, fast forward. General Sibia then gets promoted by the same organization that fired him and that released him when he made an appeal that did not oppose his appointment, that appoints him despite this warning from the city. Then the organization promotes him within a year.
Maybe I'm missing something. The letter from Mr. Mlandu,
yes,
refers to a commencement date,
which was the 1st of July,
yes,
2022.
So that means he had already been appointed, but he had not yet assumed duties.
I like to believe, I do not know of the court date. The court had already issued a ruling about his dismissal, and the court ruled that he must be reinstated, but he must apply for that reinstatement. So I like to believe that that administration process must have happened because the city became aware that he's leaving the city back into the police.
General, if I may, I think the chair is making a slightly different point.
Yeah.
Regard being held to the date of the letter from the city. That letter you said is dated the 20th of June, and it points out that General Sibia was to assume duty in SAPS on the 1st of July, which was about 10, which was about less than 2 weeks after the minister received the letter. So we are past the court decision. It was a question of when the minister gets to know and when he is assuming duty, and that was about 2 weeks from the date of the letter. So that is the context in which the chair poses this question.
Yes, I'm referring to the very last part of paragraph 6, which refers to the start date as 1 July 2022. Start date within SAPS.
Yes.
Yes. When you referred to these facts, which were indicating that there was at least allegations of impropriety, before I intervened just now, you referred to his appointment, General Sibia's appointment. So I came in because I thought he had already been appointed, hence the commencement date of the 1st of July 20.
Privy to the administration process. What I know is that the court made a ruling. I don't have the date of the court judgment, but subsequent to that, as the court ruled that you must make a submission and application, which then must be considered by the organization, and then you must come and start. So whether when this notice come, he had already signed a contract for the position or not, I do not know. However, it does not take away that as an organization that is responsibility is to enforce the law, even if you've signed a contract with an individual, the moment you become aware of the risk that is coming to the organization, you ought to pause and reflect and conduct your due diligence to make sure that there is no risk that is going to be brought by this individual into the organization. But it seems like that did not happen. So he commenced in the organization on the 1st of July. So I'm not going to talk much about what the minister did in relation to the letter, whether did the National Commission know about the risk that was flagged in the letter. I'm not in a position to answer that. But I know that there was this warning before he comes in. What becomes strange to me is that first he becomes a Major General at Detective Service, and a year later he gets promoted. Now he's promoted to the heartbeat of the police, so he's no longer responsible for organized crime alone. He's now responsible for the entire investigation, including crime intelligence, including forensic. Well, the National Commission has got powers to a point. It's just strange that the same organization dismissed this man. A year later, when he applies to court, the same organization doesn't appeal, doesn't file papers to oppose that court process. And the same organization brings him back and promotes him a year later. I don't know what he has done on his performance agreement that was so exceptional on this term when he comes back, despite this warning that justified his promotion to get into this position. But this is for me became the risk that the organization should have foreseen back then, and we find ourselves here with an individual who came into the organization with this questionable background. I must maybe speed up, Commissioner, and indicate that amongst of the things that which I will read into record, the things that he's been accused of in the city of Johannesburg as he comes in, amongst others was some procurement or some intelligence devices, which I then find it strange because, well, before I read the terms of reference of the city of Johannesburg, because there's an inquiry currently that is ongoing in the city of Johannesburg. But before I elaborate on that much, I've already made a reference to the annex of the letter from City of Johannesburg. But I want to draw the attention to the commissioners also to look at the terms of reference on an inquiry that the City of Johannesburg, which is flowing from that indication of 2022, June 20.
That's MK24. You reference that at your paragraph 269.
I want to invite the commissioners to go into that annexure as it's reflected there on my statement. And I'm going to read on record. I'm not going to read the entire terms of reference from the City of Johannesburg on an inquiry about this matter. It reads, the terms of reference required the SIIC to inquire into, among others. The SIIC refers to the Special and Independent Investigation Committee. It's abbreviated as such. Number one, allegations of fraud in the establishment of the GFIS in the city of Johannesburg. Commissioner, I want to make sure that these abbreviations and acronyms are read on record. The GFIS stands for Group Forensic and Investigation Services. Group Forensic and Investigation Services.
And just for the record, the full name is provided in paragraph 263 of the statement. Thank you, General.
The allegation of fraud in establishment of this GFIS in the city of Johannesburg, and which General Sibia was appointed the group head of. Number two, allegations of fraud, corruption, maladministration, and breach of law in the appointment of the head of GFIS. Number three, allegation of fraud, corruption, maladministration, and breaches of law regarding the implementation of rogue, clandestine, and unlawful investigations by GFIS, particularly the unlawful procurement and or deployment of snooping device called the digital forensic equipment, which is used to remotely access, intercept, and store electronic information from various gadgets without authorization.
Sorry, General, are you reading from your statement or from the terms of reference?
I'm reading from my statement.
Oh, okay. terms of reference.
Oh, my bad.
Apologies. At paragraph 270, he extracts some of the terms of reference from annexure MK24. So he made a selection of 3. They're quite extensive.
Commissioners, as I said, the terms of reference are attached as an annex on my document that is before you. I'm not the author here, but this is coming from the City of Johannesburg. But what struck me on this one, Commissioner, as I said earlier, incidents of 2011, as I saw them repeating themselves now, and I started reflecting back then. When I was acting National Commission in 2011, I became aware of the procurement of similar type of devices. And they were procured by DPCI with a sole service provider. It cost over 3 million rand, and the person who signs off and approving on that was a National Commission back then in 2010, which was Jabal Zed. And the very same individual was at DPCI where those gadgets were bought. I don't know which company supplied then. I don't even know which company supplied a similar thing to the City of Johannesburg. My biggest concern about this, commissioners, back then, I took a decision to direct that DPCI is not supposed to be in possession of such equipment. That equipment must be sent to crime intelligence, and it was done as such. So that's a concerning thing for me, that there is this digital forensic equipment. I know there's a relationship with some forensic investigators that are in South Africa with General Spear. They always go out public. I'm not saying that it's them that supply this, but this is called snooping equipment that can access information of people remotely. It is bought at DPCI back then, 2010. We moved it to crime intelligence. It is now bought in the City of Johannesburg. The same common denominator, same person is involved. We don't know where they bought it from the same. I know the one because I have records of the one of 2010. It was bought, delivered from the company in the United Kingdom. I don't know who facilitated that purchase. I don't know this one, whether was it bought from the same supplier or from the same country, and who facilitated that. What concerns me the most, commissioners, is to trying to find out, perhaps the City of Johannesburg would be able to shed light in future on this. I'm trying to establish as to where is this equipment today. General Spear left the City of Johannesburg. There's an inquiry now that is officially launched by the City of Johannesburg, which I will invite the public perhaps to follow. But what is key for me is to find out, where is this equipment? Could it be that this equipment is still with the City of Johannesburg? Or could it be still in a position of the person that acquired this? I don't know. I'm not going to conclude. But what is very interesting for me is to see that there seems to be that warning of the City of Johannesburg of 2022 is confirmed now with these terms of reference that they did warn the organization, hence this inquiry in the City of Johannesburg. That's when I'm beginning to connect the dots, commissioners. So I'm not, as I said, I'm not suggesting that whatever that happened in the City of Johannesburg, the allegations leveled against General Spear are true or not. I guess the inquiry will establish that. But I'm interested to know if there was such an equipment. I'm interested to know where is the equipment now.
You conclude this at paragraph 275, and you have made a request that a slide be projected, which you intend to speak to. So if you could just draw your conclusion, and then the slide will be projected, and then you can address yourself to the slide. Thank you, General.
Yeah, commissioners, my biggest concern in all this is that the heartbeat of the SAPS, that position is occupied by the person who was dismissed from the service, who comes back a year later after coming back, is then promoted to that position. It is the same environment that when the issues of the disbandment of this political killings task team, the head of that environment has got letters written that interfered with the work of the political task team, without engaging me. It's a position in the organization is very senior and very critical. So a person occupying that position must be beyond reproach. It is a person who his ethical standard must be above them, all of us. I'm not saying that Gerald Spear does not have that. I'm not saying that he did not have that. But as we're investigating and we're pitting up the picture that emerges, which I'm not going to talk about it, but it takes me to going back to question whether did the minister and the national commissioner do the right thing at the beginning by appointing Gerald Spear in that position. So I want to draw you into this analysis and the picture that I'm beginning to see, which is on 275. As we are doing our things as the police, please put a slideshow so we can draw it up.
Can you just give us the date of the promotion before you go to the slideshow? You keep saying a year later he was promoted to the
Commissioners, I don't have the exact date of the promotion, but a promotion happened a year later.
Was Minister Kele still minister?
At that time, I'm still under correction. I don't want to lie. I did not confirm exactly. That's why I don't know the promotion date. I don't even know when that process started for his promotion. Similar to what the commission was asking me earlier, when the City of Johannesburg writes a letter on the 20th of June 2022, and Gerald Spear was going to start on the 1st of July, whether he had signed the employment contract already with the organization by then, I don't know. Similar to this one, when he was promoted to the position of the Deputy National Commissioner, I know it happened a year later, but whether at that time was the Minister Kele in the office or not, and whether did Minister Kele play the part to his promotion, I do not know. I guess the National Commission will explain that. But what I want to flag here before the Commissioner is that his arrival in the organization was a concern. That should have been a concern for everyone. But it looks like the organization somehow did not take that serious, hence they placed him in that position. So what I'm showing on the screen as I asked that is on PowerPoint presentation.
Apologies, gone on the blink. While they put up your presentation, may I say to Commissioner Khumalo, we have taken that point on board. We will establish and we will revert with the date of his promotion.
And I think it's relevant to the Regulation 39 issue, because I saw that if you follow the question the chair asked earlier, assuming that when he first came back in July 2022, they were not aware of what was happening in the city of Joburg. A year later, they would have known, because the letter from City of Joburg is 2022.
Well, in fact, it's slightly different. It's before he assumed office, it came to their attention in June 2022. Between 2022 and 2024, when the City of Johannesburg formally launches its inquiry, he was promoted in that period intervening. Yes. There's your slide, General, if you could lead us through it.
Yeah, Commissioner, you might be confused with too many boxes and everything in that slide, but it is what, as we are investigating, that we're beginning to see that, and I want to concentrate myself on this slide on General Kele, the National Commissioner, and General Spear. You will see at the bottom of General Spear the lines that are connected to him, that crime intelligence, detective service, and forensic service, they report directly to him. And we know that there is this connect of everything. Gerald Kele lives, but what is also part of the investigation that we're picking up is that when the contract of 360 million rand was awarded to Mr. Matlala and the police, Gerald Kele was the Minister of Police. I'm not saying that he had a role to play on that one, but I'm just saying it's something interesting to look at, because we see communication that the team will come and reflect on between the very same Mr. Matlala and General Kele, the communication as we have listed there, which dates back to December last year, 2024, how they've been communicating. So it's not only about the arrest of Matlala, there is communication prior to that, and further evidence that we picked up, exchange of monies and the likes. I guess Jaro Kumar will elaborate more on that when they come in with the investigation team. I don't want to get into it. But it's just interesting to know that Matlala and Zed have got a relationship and there's money exchanges between. And this is a man that was appointed in the police to be a health risk manager of the service. And the connection that we have put it here linked to Gerald Spear in all directions, top, left, right, bottom, in all angles. And this becomes a worry because, as I said, it's a heartbeat of the organization. And when we are having the red flags on the left, which is the syndicate, 2 of them already in custody, we have others that we haven't mentioned. And we are having the ghost on the right, black and white, which include so-called experts out there that are spreading wrong information, so-called media journalists that are in there, many parties that you see there on the black, and going up top right corner, you see the entities of government, which will include IPIC, IDEC, IGI, that are party to this chaos that we are seeing, and the engagement they're having with the Minister of Police, Mr. Senzo Mkhwanazi now, Bran Mkhwanazi in the Chief of Staff. So this picture is what comes to the fore, and it gets us worried that when we begin to question, how did this man comes into this organization? Could it be this? We ignore the warning from the city of Johannesburg, and we end up here today. So I'm going to leave it here, Commissioners, and move to the next item.
You indicated that other witnesses will come speak to this slide in the fullness of time, and I accept that that's where you want to leave it at this point. Having disposed of that, then, that leads us to our next topic, which starts at your paragraph 276, which you had attempts to seek redress. A quick look through of what you address here. Basically, you've dealt with over the course of your 3-day testimony. You don't have to repeat. You may perhaps just want to deal with paragraph 276, which, as I understand it, is a summary of all the steps you took in an attempt to address what you call a 276 ongoing threats to the criminal justice system. Do you see where I am in your statement? So if you could just highlight those steps just in a summary form, because I think we've spent the past 3 days technically speaking through each one of them.
Yeah, if I'm going to summarize, Commissioners, they are there on the statement for your ledger in reading. But the first one, I spoke about it earlier before lunch, that I made a submission to the Zondo Commission because I wanted to reflect specifically the problems that are within crime intelligence and the involvement of the security cluster in the form of NPA in defeating the end of justice or stopping investigations that are continuing, and the executive authority at the time, the role that was played by Minister Mteto in dealing with employment and police officers within the organization at the senior level. I wanted to reflect that. So I'm not going to dwell on it. The statement is before you, the affidavit is before you. I had not only through the National Commission or anyone else, but I went to Minister Senzo Mkhwanazi directly myself.
Before you get there, can I just place something on record? You had referenced the submissions to the Zondo Commission. You say they were submitted in 2020. Could you just clarify, how did they get to be submitted? Were you responding to an invitation? And you do indicate that you didn't get the opportunity to appear.
I approached the commission and requested to present myself and make a submission, and they assigned an investigating officer who came and he took the affidavit from me. So that's how it was deposited, because I had reached out to the commission to try and get a platform where I can reflect on the experience, on the things that I had that are within the organization. So it was my effort. I was not necessarily invited for it. I went on my own. And thereafter, Commissioners, I seeked an audience with the Minister of Police, Mr. Senzo Mkhwanazi, as I said, talking to the Chief of Staff immediately after learning of the letter. Chief of Staff did not facilitate that meeting. And I even went outside the structures other than talking to the National Commissioner to try and secure this meeting with the Minister. I wrote the minister a message myself when I requested a meeting. He acknowledged that, but he never afforded me the opportunity to meet with him. And I must say that I ended up breaking these protocols by approaching Parliament. And I made contact with the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Mr. Honorable Ian Cameron, and I must appreciate that he did his best to arrange for me to come and appear before the Commission, which I did. And I presented, which I referenced on the record on the 5th of March. But even that presentation still did not help with anything. They listened to me, but it did not solve anything. And what is worse, the 5th is presentation, the following day, the 6th, the ministers having the National Commission, I'm told, in a meeting, and they're discussing the disbandment of the team still. All these things I'm flaking about, Mkhwanazi and the likes. The Member of Parliament, Mr. Adams, who was in that meeting. I present, Gerald Kumalo present, which I'm going to invite the Commission to get extracts of that. We present serious things that are happening in the police, but the members of Parliament, especially Mr. Adams, was not interested in that. And he was more focused on Gerald Kumalo, appointment of Gerald Kumalo, and everything wrong with crime intelligence. And it was disturbing because we had tried. And subsequent to that, we felt that then we don't have any choice but to do two things. One of them was to register a case on a defeating edge of justice against the people that were behind the close of the withdrawal of this investigation of KZN. So we have a case that is currently running as a complainant. I hope and pray that pretty soon those involved will be brought to court. We will soon hear about that. I trust the investigation team that are working on these matters, that are going to help us on this. But beside that, I then felt it is important, then, commissioners, that the 68 million plus citizens of this country, they are the ones that signed the Constitution, and they gave us a mandate, and they gave us a responsibility to protect them. And if we get to a stage where we are really failing to protect them, it is important that we alert the citizens that our efforts to try and create safety in their lives thanks to the community, to people of South Africa for listening to us, and the media, I said earlier, for making it possible for us to connect with our clients out there by publishing our July 6 briefing.
Okay, and that sums up the efforts you made up to and leading to the 6th of July briefing. Yes, Commissioner.
General, at paragraph 288, this is where you're discussing, starting at 287, the meeting of the 16th of May 2025. Now at 288, you speak about a reference to your request for a meeting with the minister at 288. Can you just explain that a bit?
Commissioners, I sent the Minister of Police a WhatsApp directly, which he acknowledged. And I made a screenshot of that. I have a copy of that WhatsApp. When the minister invited myself and the National Commission to come and meet with him on the 16th of May in his official residence here at the Union Building, in that email, there were different time slots that were indicated. The first time slot was going to be the minister, the National Commissioner, and Gerald Spear. The second meeting was going to be the minister, myself, and Gerald Spear. So that's why I knew that the National Commissioner will appear there before me. So I flew from Durban, and I arrived there, and the minister asked me to wait for the National Commissioner to come. Gerald Spear was there, and the National Commissioner came, and then the minister walked into the boardroom, so we ended up being 4 in the meeting. I did not expect the National Commissioner to be part of the meeting because the invitation did not include him. But he was invited. I still asked him, I said, what are you doing here? And he said, no, well, I was invited. Even the minister in his opening remarks said, yes, National Commissioner was not supposed to be here, but I thought it is important for him to be here. the purpose of that meeting is what I spoke about in public, that the minister decided to let me fly from Durban so that he can create peace between me and General Speaker. That was the purpose of the meeting on the day. But when he started, he acknowledged my request for the meeting. And he said, I do acknowledge that you asked to see me. You wanted to talk to me. But I will grant you that opportunity next time. But for today, I've called you for this peace talk between you and Spear. Nothing else. So that's really what this paragraph is saying, because that is what the meeting was about. And we spoke about that. And then I went back to KZN for the peace talk.
Thank you, Commissioner. General, that then would lead us to your paragraph 305 under the heading Claims of Failure to Follow Protocol. Just a quick comment there. What are you communicating under that heading?
Commissioners, I demonstrated that I've been a member of the South African Police Service for over 30 years. I understand my role as a provincial commissioner, as a senior manager in the organization. I was trained. I did not arrive in the police in a high rank. I came in as a constable, and I grew within the ranks in the organization. So I understand the protocol of the police very well. As I became a senior manager in the police, I will have undergone training in the police, different management courses that I attended that teaches me on the protocol that exists in the police. How do you go about it? It's just unfortunately that when it goes out into the public that I broke protocol when I had that media briefing. I submit that that accusation is unfair and is unfounded. They are criticizing me for something that they don't know what it exists in the police as protocols. Beside the fact that we always address the media from time to time as our provincial commissioners who are responsible for provinces. But for that day, I took a liberty to tell the National Commissioner that I'm going to be having a media briefing. And he asked me what for, and I said for the political task team. And indeed, the briefing was about the political task team, just to indicate why this task team is then disbanded. It is because of what we have discovered. So that's what really the briefing was about. And it's unfortunate that there are many people that call themselves experts, lawmakers, and so forth, analysts, that blame me for having breached the protocol. Perhaps they will come before this commission and say, this is a protocol of police that Mkhwanazi broke on the 6th of July. But I submit before this commission that I did not break any protocol. Because if that was the case and it's brought to my attention, I'll be the first one to admit that yes, indeed, I broke protocol. But I would have believed that action will already be taken against me for having broken protocol. I did not break any protocol.
Okay, thank you. The next chapter.
Advocate Silo,
Oh, yes,
before you
yes,
read that section, General, given the commissioners watch television, you can take it from me that we saw the media briefing on 6 July 2025. You talked about protocol, which means following official channels. I'm more curious about the dress code on the day and the fact that people who appeared were armed. Just give us a general picture. Is that normally how your team dresses? Why were they dressed that way on the day?
Although we have to now display our tactical strategies in public, but commissioners, as we're investigating and this picture coming together, then we start realizing that we now have to move from being a service provider to society to becoming a force in order for us to prevent the El Cadors and the Mexicos to happen in this country. Because the threat, the enemy that we saw that is infiltrating crime intelligence, is infiltrating parliament, and is controlling our executive authority and going into the heart of the police operations, which is investigation, To date, I'm speaking to you, the Matlalas and the likes, if you go and see the record of cases withdrawn against Matlala, more than 18 here in this province. And you really realize that you can no longer wear a tie and face this fight. So this is a fight that requires, for one, to apply the tactics that is learned over years. And one had to draw on experience I had in the task force of saying, how do you deal with a terrorist? And because as I see it now, I think this is terrorism. This is people who want to take over government, not through the ballot paper, but through these criminal activities. We must protect those goes to the voting station. Political parties exercise their rights, they vote, they appoint government. But if government is going to be taken in this fashion, it cannot happen under our name. So it's for that reason that we wanted to communicate a message to South Africa that we are ready, and communicate a message to this drug squad, politicians, the executive, police officers within law enforcement agencies, that we're ready for them. I said when I presented earlier, I knew that I've got a target on my back. So for me, maybe you'll forgive me in saying this as a Zulu man. So I wanted to make sure that they get a message that
I don't sneak up on a person. I face them directly.
So Commissioner, we were pushed to the corner that for us to counter this, what is happening, let's draw attention of South Africa for them to realize the battle that we're about to face. And it is a battle, I must say, as I said, when you put that screen, that they are so-called experts, they are so-called forensic investigators, they are so-called journalists. There's a whole lot of people that are spreading news, feeding the narrative that has been perpetuated by these people internal. We have people in the organization that when the case is open, they take the docket and they keep it in their office and they don't investigate it. And we have evidence for that. The Deputy Provincial Commissioner Gauteng can be called into this commission. He will tell you the list of all these dockets that were opened. There's one of them, it's a kidnapped person which is allegedly Matlala is involved. That docket was in Gauteng, but an instruction came from the head office, the Jara Spears office, that we want that case docket. That docket is sitting in the head office. The mother of the kidnapped son, or the missing son, even contacted me because she can't find closure. And now we begin to see that who are people implicated, the Matlalas, and these investigations have been suppressed. We therefore cannot sit back, commissioners. We must take off our Palaberam shoes and take off our blue uniform and wear boots and go and face the enemy directly.
Thank
So
you.
the short answer was the attire was a show of force.
You can put it like that, Commissioner. It goes beyond that. You have to win a psychological warfare. You need to win physical warfare. And while we're doing that, we begin to see suspension of some people that were blocking investigations. And we start seeing cases being enrolled that involve these people. I must say that that press briefing put about pressure to the people that were blocking this investigation from happening. The team is working day and night, albeit the court putting Khumalo and the team outside to frustrate them, but they still find a way of pushing forward to make sure that we collapse this entire enterprise that has developed in front of us for the safety of our children and for the safety of the citizens of this country.
Thank you, General. Commissioner, that answers your question. Commissioner Khumalo. Thank you. The next chapter you deal under the heading retaliatory efforts, and just in brief, you contend that there are retaliatory efforts taken against you personally, or some of you, and the task team in general. From paragraph 311 you named two incidents, but just want to point out that from paragraph 311 under the heading the Mpangeni matter, it's the one you narrated, I think, in detail before. So I would propose that perhaps you don't go through it in detail, but you link it to a subsequent issue that arose starting at your paragraph 319. But before you do so, just to close the Mpangeni matter, perhaps you might want to have regard to your paragraph 317 and 318 as regards specifically that matter before you move on then.
Commissioners, I can indicate here that on the matter of Mpangeni that got me into the media, that involving those drugs and ammunition that were found in prison, after I had requested an inquiry be registered and be investigated, on the 14th of February 2025, Advocate Mkhwanazi of the NPA declined to prosecute on this matter on the position of drugs and ammunition. I believe that confirmed my suspicion that we couldn't prove that she is got to do with these 5 rounds of ammunition and these few pills that were found in a dustbin. So the NPA declined to prosecute on that matter.
Before you move on, you have attached the affidavit of Colonel Mkhwanazi and the NPA that about FK26. I apologize. You have attached Colonel Mkhwanazi's affidavit as well as the NPA letter, and both are MK26. Just to point out to the commissioners that the first document is the affidavit. The actual letter declining to prosecute is at 601 of that annexure. It's a handwritten entry, I think, into the investigation diary signed by Advocate Mkhwanazi.
That is correct, Commissioners, and if the Commission allow me to read on 601, the entry that was made by the advocate in that inquiry and his actual reasons for declining to prosecute, it reads as follows, and is dated the 14th of February 2025. I decline to prosecute Nelisile Joyce Ndlovu on the unlawful possession of ammunition and drugs. The photo album was received. It is clear that the above items were found outside her house in the dustbin where anyone would have access to. There will be no prospect of successful prosecuting Ms. Ndlovu. Signed by the prosecutor. So, Commissioners, this goes to demonstrate exactly my suspicion on this matter as it started. That rather make this inquiry, take this thing to forensic lab, get forensic people to come in here, and I guess they did. That's why there's photograph, which means forensic people came, did a test DNA, took photos, and they filed it in an inquiry, and they couldn't prove that this person who sleeps in this house is responsible for the dustbin outside and the content that was inside the dustbin.
You then lead on to, from paragraph 319, on to IPID, the Independent Police Investigative Directorate.
I indicated, thanks Commissioners, I indicated that an OB entry of Mpangeni surrounding this matter was brought to my attention by Mr. Mkhwanazi. And I said this Mpangeni is in a policing area where the Minister of Police stays. And to my surprise, after all these incidents, on the 12th of March, I received a letter from IPID, the acting head of investigation at IPID, who wrote on his letter, the first paragraph, which says that they received a complaint of interference from the Minister of Police regarding alleged interference with the arrest of the senior correctional officer in January 2024. Incident happened in 2024. IPID sends this in March 2025. And they are saying the Minister of Police is the one who registered this complaint with them in black and white.
Before you proceed, I see you are, I think, reading from MK27. Is that correct? Starting at page 603. There's the subject line of that document. It references Mpangeni with a case number of 03/001/2024. Is that the same case number as the Mpangeni matter that you say the NPA refused to prosecute, or is that a different one?
It's the same one
Okay.
that the NPA declined to prosecute on. The Mpangeni matter. Commissioners, if you see on 601 of the attachment, top right corner, the inquiry number, actually it was not a case, it was an inquiry. The inquiry number is dated 3/01/2024. So this is what the minister's letter, I assume, was referring to, because, or the IPIT letter, although they said it's a case, it's not a case, it was not registered as a case, it was an inquiry.
Also, General, before you continue, so we don't get confused, the number at 601-301-2024, is that a date or an inquiry number? Is that the, because I see on the left column, there is a date of 14/2/2025. So that the number on the top right that you just read,
Yes.
is that a date or is that a formal entry number or
It's a
case number or?
Yeah, it's a registered number.
Okay.
What we do in the police when
Sorry,
we
it's
record.
because I apologize. It's because you called it a date, and I wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, no,
It's
it's
not a
a,
date.
it's a, well, 3/01/2024. It is a reference number. 3, it's a reference number. Slash the following numbers, it's a month. And slash the following numbers, it's a year. That's what, so it's a reference to the case number. If it's a
Understood.
case, if it's an inquiry, reference to the inquiry number. That's why it's 2024. It remains on the register like that.
And you maintain that it corresponds to what IPID
It
calls case number in the subject line.
That is correct. In the heading of IPIT letter, which is dated the 12th of March 2025, they reference this Mpangeni case with those numbers 3/01/2024.
Thank you. You may continue.
So in this letter, as I said, commissioners, maybe reading exactly paragraph 1 of the letter so that I can quote it verbatim. It reads as follows. Kindly note that IPIT received a complaint of interference from the Minister of Police, registered as IPIT CCN 2025-020200. The matter falls within section 28, subsection 1H of IPIT Act number 1 of 2011. And the second paragraph, it then says, it is alleged that on Monday, the 8th of January 2024, at about 8:45 in the evening, 2045, an operation was conducted at Kalagabusha Prison residential area. The police went to a house number 3 and searched the premises. In the process, 5 rounds and 12 pills wrapped in a foil were found in the dustbin outside the house. The owner of the house, Miss Nelly Ndlovu, was arrested and taken to the police station for detention. The items found in the dustbin were booked as exhibit in SAP 13 number 36/2023 and 37/2023 Mpangeni SAPS. It is further alleged that while the police were busy processing the suspect, they received a call from the provincial commissioner who instructed the team not to open a case against the suspect. Close quote. So this what formed the basis of IP to come and launch an investigation. Strange enough, commissioners, to date, I don't know what happened to this investigation of IP. but I can safely tell you that the current acting head of IP flew to KZN, and when he arrived in KZN, he had written a letter, 2-paragraph letter, that he did not sign, and that letter was in a car. And he came to apologize that they quoted a wrong person as a complainant, the minister. They shouldn't have done that, and the complainant was not the minister. When I asked him, but where were you when this letter was written? He said he was on leave. I said, but how would you justify the person who wrote it? Of all the people who can make an example or make a mistake on, why would you make a mistake of referring to a minister? I believe it is a minister that forced you, IP, to launch an investigation on this. Well, of course, he denied that. He said it's not an IP. When I asked him, but who it is, if it's not a minister, he said, no, it's an anonymous complaint. I said, no, you can't tell me that. Anonymous complaint, and yet you've written a minister. I was not born yesterday. And I asked him, so what are you coming to do here in my office? He said, no, I want to withdraw this letter. I said, okay, what is it you have? He then asked my staff officer to get into the lift and go downstairs into the car and open his boot and take a folder and bring it to the office. And he opened the folder. There was this letter that was written, not signed. The 2-paragraph. First one, we are correcting that the complaint didn't come from the minister. The second paragraph, we don't have to submit a statement. He signed it in my presence. He asked me, are you happy with this? And I said, well, I don't have a problem. You want to give me this thing. You felt it is important for you to spend state money and fly from Pretoria to come here and sign this letter in front of me to withdraw that. Are you trying to cover up the minister or what? But he said, no, it's not covering up the minister. So he signed the letter, made a copy, and he left. That made me believe that he wanted that there can only be 2 copies. One from me and one from him. Because he asked me not to release that copy, which I did not. But to date, I've never heard of IP again. Whether they're still investigating or not investigating. They will maybe come and explain after that what happened to that investigation. So this is part one of the example that made me realize that this is now the minister's fight back. Indirectly so. You might deny it, he denied it in public, but the IP people made a mistake. An honest IP member that compiled this letter and signed this letter, if he's brought to this commission under oath, he might say he was the minister, not the minister. I would like to hear what that member says under oath, because as we investigate, we might find the truth. And if he lies under oath, it might be troublesome.
That then brings you, General, to your paragraph 325 under a slightly different heading. This time it's the General Khumalo case. You want to highlight other aspects regarding this case. Remember that you had quite an extensive engagement with the chair when you were talking about concerns within the magistracy. And you referenced this particular case. And I think perhaps the issues you want to highlight, insofar as you claim a retaliatory actions against you or your trust team members, are from 330, paragraph 330, by way of examples, without necessarily going into deeper detail. Are you able to summarize that in brief?
Yes, Commissioners, I can indicate, I said earlier with regard to how the team, GCI Ops, has been collapsed. The heart of it was Jaro Khumalo, Jaro Lekalakala, the people that are driving this operation, the CFO at Crime Intelligence that are driving this operation. Jaro Madondo, who is responsible for all these gadgets that were bought, moved from DPCI and the likes and brought there, was responsible for this. They were arrested by IDEC. I want to invite the Commission and the public in general to just go and revisit the Amendment Act of IDEC, of NPA, so they can be able to extract on the Section 7 the mandate of IDEC, charged with the responsibility of dealing with serious cases, very serious cases. But the arrest that happened on the case, as I said, remember, Commissioners, I said, Mr. Adams open cases in Cape Town and open cases in Johannesburg with no elements of crime on his statements. But this arrest is a result of a case in Brooklyn, Pretoria, where Mr. Adams is a complainant with a statement dated January 2025. I do not know whether Ms. Adam flew up to Pretoria to deposit another statement. But what is strange is that the complaint on this matter that got these members arrested is exactly the same complaint on the case that is in the position of IDEC that were open in Cape Town and Pretoria, which the complaint is about the 6 members of crime intelligence management who are charged with corruption related to the irregular appointment of Brigadier Mkhwanazi, as per the Brooklyn Case 5426/2025.
And that is the case that I think you unpacked for the commissioners when you were dealing with the bail conditions that were set against General Khumalo. Is that correct?
That's correct. Commissioners, as you see, they are charged for irregular appointment, not operations or misuse of funds or crime intelligence, nothing of that sort, but the regular appointment. And they are accusing Brigadier Mkhwanazi for having received gratification, which is the salary that the organization is going to pay her over a period of 12 months. So she's arrested and charged for receiving that salary that she has not received. His team is charged. I'm not going to dwell much into the charge sheet, but what is interesting on this one is that the magistrate then comes with a court ruling that says on the bail condition, they must never enter any premises of crime intelligence in the country. That is the interesting part in relation to this case. That's what strengthened our commitment in terms of fighting the syndicate, that this is a strategy employed by them to make sure that these investigations are stalled. And the people that are playing part here, it's IDEC. With all this expectation from government that IDEC is going to deal with serious cases, but they confine themselves with dealing with labor-related matters, irregular appointment. It is really peculiar indeed, and I really don't understand why will an institution like IDEC that is supposed to be focusing on some serious things that are affecting this country, then they border with cases of this nature. I must say this one was initiated between them and Mr. Adams. It's not that which the minister have referred to them. So they ought to come up with something else. But I guess IDEC is going to be invited to come here before this commission. They are welcome to come and explain themselves as to what I'm bringing before this commission is the fact that is there. I'm not speculating, it is in black and white. So they are just come and explain why they chose this route of dealing with investigations in their offices.
And at paragraph 331, you reference another incident, or once again speaking to retaliatory action. Can you summarize that?
Commissioner, you'll see on that projection, that the slide that I presented, on the top right corner, I circled a few entities. Maybe you can flight it back if you are able to. I circled a few entities.
She's trying to get it up again, yes.
Okay, I circled a few entities. That is just to show, I wanted to indicate to the commission that this is the fighting structure of the people of this cartel that we're investigating. They are using these environments to fight. Of course, they are also using the people that are spreading wrong information and publishing things on the media and speaking loud. Some of people that have got audience in public and speak ill against the crime intelligence. And I'm going to invite, I know maybe it might not be, it's not in my statement, but General Khumalo will talk about it. But I'm aware as part of the management that in the history of all the intelligence performance, that the performance of crime intelligence in terms of the audit for the past 5 years or so, maybe Auditor General South Africa will come and tell you how were things before Khumalo came there and how are things now. It would be interesting to see that. And so you can ask yourself whether is any maladministration or not. I know of properties, I'm not disclosing as to what, but I know properties and the money spent in renting buildings versus the money spent in procurement. But that is subject to another discussion other day. But these are some of the messages that goes out into the public.
In relation then to, our slide has disappeared. I wanted to contextualize what you state at paragraph 331.1 and 331.2. I thought that is why you wanted the slide to be put up.
Yes, Commissioner, what I wanted the slide to be put out is because I'm aware that in December, when the team searched Vusmus Matlala's house on the 6th of December, beside the law enforcement having presented themselves there to come and disrupt the operation, there was a case that came subsequent to that, where Vusmus Matlala was coerced to open a case against the team members that they stole his Rolex watches and many other items. So that case was sent to IPID so that IPID can investigate and arrest these members from the team. So that's one of the cases we registered, and there's another case that is sitting in the Eastern Cape, and there are many other cases that have been persuaded against the team members.
And that leads you then to the case at 331.3.
That case of 331.3, Commissioners, it said, I did not want to mention this much in public, but I can talk about it now. I had said when I addressed the public on the 6th of July 2025 that there are firearms that have since been linked with multiple murders in Gauteng province. What is heartbreaking for me, Commissioner, is that when these firearms are found and they are sent to forensic service of the South African Police Service, and we'll expect the analyst to produce a report after testing these firearms against the cartridges found, and also against a database of other cartridges that were found in other scenes, so that you can do a comparison whether these firearms are involved in other cases other than this one. Those firearms, when they were tested, the report that came did not compare this firearm with other cases. And yet the investigators had information that the same firearms were used. So when the team came in for the 10 from KZN to assist these investigators, they were able to, because they've got ballistic experts within them, they were able to go and get the analyst who was at home at the time, and they asked him to accompany him to come to the forensic offices. And he gave them firearms. They went and tested these firearms themselves. So when they tested the firearms linked with these other matters. So they came back to the analyst and said, but we want to see your gadget that you used to explain to us why you did not produce the report that say these firearms are linked with other matters. Why did you hide that away? So they came with him to the office so that they can be able to take those gadgets and be able to download to get proof whether did this analyst get the same results they are getting or he got a different result. But after the team did that and they came with a member back to the office to get those gadgets, the senior management in the South African Police Service responding for forensic encouraged these police officers to go and open a case of kidnapping against the team, because the team forced him to come in and give them the gadgets because they wanted to establish that we are testing these guns, we are getting these positive reports, and you had these firearms in front of you and you did not produce these reports. So I didn't say in the public when I addressed that the linkages of these firearms were actually tested by the PKTT team. They were not tested by forensic in Pretoria who was in possession of these guns, because there was a collusion to hide that evidence. So after this testing, we've seen these cases being rolled in court and people arrested already. And it...
relation to paragraph 3313.
3313.
331.3, yes.
Yes.
You state in respect of that particular officer that he opened a kidnapping case.
Yes.
And you put it under that subject, retaliatory action against the task team. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
It happened here that case was opened in retaliation to the efforts of the task team.
That's correct, because the person who was involved did not open the case immediately. We learned that he was coerced to open this case against the team, that he was kidnapped. And as a police officer, he was taken to his office to open his office and so that the team can access gadgets. But he claimed kidnapping as a result. After that, on the day, he went back home. He was not cuffed, he just went to the office and he gave them what they needed and he left. But he was coerced to open a case of kidnapping, which, if it's persuaded by IPED or any other bodies, it's easy for them to arrest the team, like IDEC has done. Arrest the team and put them out of action.
Okay.
If you've explained it, General, you'll forgive me. And why do you say he was coerced?
Commissioner, the team was with this police officer from the time they went and met with him at his residence, and he came with them without any concern into the offices. Some of the seniors even came to join this team at the office. They even offered them lunch. They even bought them lunch. So the relationship between the team and this member and other officers of forensic was a cordial colleagues engagement. I'm not going to say exactly what he said to the team, but he indicated to the team that these firearms are linked with serious cases that he doesn't want to get involved with. So, but later, for this person to now go and open a case back at Luata where he came from, as if he was kidnapped, whereas he came here to Pretoria into his office, we can only conclude that someone influenced him to do that. Because you will have, if he was kidnapped, he could have phoned anyone. He called his commanders to come there. So his commanders were there. And the evidence of kidnapping is something that I believe maybe that's why IPED is not able to effect any arrest on it. But the case was open as a result. So it's part of those things that we are seeing, commissioners, that if these members are arrested, it means this team must stop working. In the Eastern Cape, Brigadier Shabalala from DPCI is also invited to do the same against the members in the Eastern Cape. So there are many cases that have now been registered against the very same Gauteng counterintelligence investigation that is taking place. Well, the first strike was IDEC. So I don't know if the others are going to strike thereafter and come with their own bail condition as well. So, but we are concerned about this. It's me, ministers complain, IPED. It's these members, kidnapping case, IPED. It's these members, promotion of a person, IDEC. So it's the same members that are affected by this. That's why we see there's concerted effort to make sure that there's a frustration of the work of the team in this regard.
Oh, thank you, General. That then brings you to the next topic, if you are done with that one. And here you...
Ms. Lo, you have 331.4.
Yes, Commissioner.
It doesn't have any detail at all, just in case it becomes important somewhere along the line.
Yes.
Are we likely to get further detail, or this is as far as it goes?
We can inquire from the General. I note that paragraph ends with a sentence, further clarification regarding the details of this case is pending.
Yes.
General, perhaps you may assist the Commissioner.
I just flagged it here, Commissioners, because I know of this case also that affect the very same members of the team. You recall back then the team was working in the Eastern Cape. So there are cases that looks like they were registered against them in the Eastern Cape. So, but I don't have the details on it. That's why when I conclude my statement, I end it here. But it's a combination of all the cases that comes out as a result of that are affecting these members that are working at this organized crime team.
Thank you, Commissioner. General, we then turn to the next topic in your statement. The heading is allegations against me in the public domain. Could you briefly deal with that?
Commissioners, I know there are many allegations against me in the public domain, which are widely publicized. There are podcast channels that are hosting specific individuals that speak so bad things about me. At least now I know that the Louis Vuitton bag cost how much money. I didn't know until they spoke about me in the media. And I went to ask my wife, what is a Louis Vuitton and how much is it? And I got to learn. I don't want to engage much on it.
Here it comes, get set, are you ready now? Here it comes, get set. Are you ready? Here it comes, here it comes. Here it comes, get set. Are you ready now? Here it comes, here it comes now. Here it comes, get set. Are you ready? Here it comes, here it comes.
A pause can change the way you see things. Take a moment with the strong, revitalizing taste of Joko. Now available in 100% pure rooibos.
As a security interest person, he once worked at the airport in Johannesburg, and after that, he then opened his own company. I know of, maybe I can put it here, commissioners, that, as I said, I've got informers. The chief of staff of the Minister of Police, Mr. Nkabine, used to work for IPID. He has given me files about the modus operandi in IPID, and when he used to be there, the role that Mr. Poliswan was playing in IPID. There was a fallout between the two of them. Mr. Paul O'Sullivan does not mince his words when he speaks out there. He just speaks openly. So I don't want to debate what he's saying. I want him to come before this commission and come and argue the things that I've presented in these past 3 days, that everything is a lie. And he must tell me why he says it's a lie. Not to come here and accuse me on something that he cannot substantiate. But if he's got evidence of it, he's welcome to come. It's an open commission. He must come here and say, this is what Mkhwanazi has done, this is what Mkhwanazi has done, this is what Mkhwanazi has done. For me, what I can tell you, what we have picked up, we are investigating. I became aware of this, I registered the case. The case is being investigated in KZN. I hope he also pick up things against me. He registers a case being investigated, and you see the outcome of it. There is a professor that I've never met in my whole life, Professor Meriti Haas. This is an academia, a violence crime monitor, analyst in KZN. I expect the learned friends and people that are academias to do research. You do not write something that you did not research. But from what I see, what Meridias publishes most of the time, it's a one-sided story. You hear from a person who tells you the story, you don't investigate, you publish it. I'm going to cite an example, commissioners, as I'm closing on this. The case, the famous case of the murder of a politician at Mzimkhulu in KZN, Sindiso Makara. General Kumalo at the time was a brigadier. I said when I presented here, General Kumalo used to work under Operational Response Division, coordinating operations. He only arrived at crime intelligence most recently, 2023, if I'm not mistaken. 2022, I think, end of 2022, 23. When these arrests happened back then, he was not anywhere close to crime intelligence. He was a brigadier. He's the one that was leading the team that cracked that investigation of Sindiso Makara. He's the one that found that the firearm that was used in the murder of Sindiso Makara and the vehicle that was used in the murder of Sindiso Makara are the resources that came from crime intelligence. It's General Kumalo that found that. And it's him that caused about at least 30 police officers to be arrested that were part of this criminality that are happening in KZN involving the murder of politicians and others. But when the professor receives something from Mr. Adams, that Mr. Adams flew from Cape Town to Durban in prison to go and collect it from an arrested person, and the arrested person makes a story that crime intelligence was behind this, therefore it's Kumalo. And they take that, they run with it. They have no clue. The person they're accusing is the same person that made this arrest, but you are accusing that person. Now, you will expect that maybe from Mr. Adams and others, but you don't expect that from a professor. Professor should have said, yes, you're receiving me, so let me go and check and verify. Where was Kumalo on this day? When did he start at crime intelligence? What was his role? Who was part of crime intelligence when this thing came? You would have picked up that. So I don't know if she's in South Africa or she's not, but I'll be happy if the commission can invite Meriti Haas to come here. And many others. There are many other people that have got opinions that are making allegations against me in public. I invite them to come here, commissioners, and sit in this chair and present and give me an opportunity to come back and respond to your allegations. I'm going nowhere. Inkosi sangcinile, ngiyabonga.
Thank you, General. Yes, ma'am. Commissioner?
General, just to go back to what you say about the relationship between General Sibiya and Mr. O'Sullivan, you say it's in the public domain, certainly not to some of us. Lest it be what you've said, lest it be understood, if that was not your intention, to mean there is an improper relationship. Perhaps if you could just say a little bit more about this relationship. Are they familial? Is it professional? What in fact is this relationship you're speaking of?
Commissioner, I cannot talk about the nature of the relationship between the two of them. What I know is what General Sibiya told me personally, that Paulo Sullivan is his friend. He said it with his own words to me. That's why I'm saying, on me going to the media addressing the nation on the 6th, then Paulo Sullivan went into the media and accused me. Instead of listening to the message I'm delivering and cause these allegations I'm making to be investigated, he didn't bother. He just fired back almost immediately. So that made me realize that in Zulu will say, so I like to believe that perhaps that's what I was alleging there somehow links him somehow.
I've not been sworn in to interpret.
Thank you, Chair. That brings us to the end of General Mkhwanazi's testimony at this leg of the Commission. As he indicates in his statement, he shall avail himself when called upon to do so by the Commission, and should he be required to file a further statement, he has expressed his full intention to do so. Unless commissioners have further questions, that is the testimony of General Mkhwanazi. Thank you, Chair.
General, I don't remember ever being in the witness stand, but to be in the witness stand for 3 days, it must be quite onerous. Thank you very much. And you are excused for now, because there seems to be an indication that you might be recalled, and you yourself also offered to come back and counter whatever allegations may be made by others. So you are excused for now. Thank you very much, General.
Thank you so much. Maybe if I can indicate to the Commission that Parliament also invited me. I'm going to be meeting the evidence leaders on Thursday and Friday next week, but the date of the hearing in Parliament I do not know, so I'll hear from them.
Yes. I doubt that you coming back to us will be anything immediate at all. I doubt that. Thank you very much, General. We will resume on Monday at 9:30. Let us adjourn. Thank you very much.